Amidst all of the chaos off the pitch, Enzo Maresca has transformed Chelsea into a side that's not only good to watch, but also very, very dangerous. And in this video, we're going to be breaking down what Enzo Maresca has changed in Chelsea to turn them into a side that teams should really fear. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Chelsea's attack and the way that they go forwards and the way that they're scoring so many goals. They're currently the second top scorers of the Premier League with 16 goals in 7 matches. That grounds down to around about 2.3 per match. They're also averaging 4.14 goal creating actions per 90, and that is their contributions to a goal or scoring opportunity. So what are they doing so well, and how are they being able to really draw players out and take apart other sides? To better understand that, we need to understand what Enzo Maresca wants from this Chelsea setup, and to do that we need to look at the way he sets his team up. So here are Chelsea in their 4-2-3-1 formation. Now we know that teams nowadays like to change formation based on whether they're in possession or out of possession. Chelsea are no different, and in particular we're going to be looking at the inverted fullback role. But I want to really focus on that for a moment, because I feel like a lot of people talk about the inverted fullback and just say it without really understanding what the implications are and how it benefits a Chelsea side. So let's just strip all this back for a moment and really take a look at what the inverted fullback does. Chelsea have the ability to both invert Cucurella and Gusto. In this particular instance, we're going to be looking at Gusto, but what happens? You have a hybrid player in Enzo Fernandez. He's sat next to Caicedo, but he's going to go forwards once the Chelsea fullback inverts. He moves over into midfield, and this happens. Fernandez moves forward, Palmer moves across, Caicedo moves across, and Gusto moves in field. At the same time, you've got the back or the remaining back 3 players moving across to form a back 3. But what is the point of this? The point of this is to overload this midfield area to create a numerical advantage for Chelsea in the centre of the park. Chelsea want to dominate the midfield, and in particular against this team that I've got them lined up against, they have 3 midfielders who are going to try and defend against this, and Chelsea have 4, creating a natural 4v3 numerical advantage. Now of course this changes within a match, but that's the general principle: to overload the midfield and to create a dominant pattern of play throughout the centre of the pitch. Following from that, you want to try and isolate 1v1 duels utilising your 2 wingers. Sancho and Madueke in this particular instance want to stay really high and really wide, and this is because they want to create these 1v1 duels up against their respective opposite fullbacks. In doing this, they not only give themselves a better chance of winning those duels, either going on the outside or inside, but it also creates better scoring opportunities later down the line. Following on from this, you've got the striker moving into the box and creating third man runs and second man runs from the players in midfield. In short, Chelsea's dynamism comes from their overloading in midfield and their 1v1 duels that are really isolated through the wing play. And we can see exactly what I'm talking about right here. This is in the build-up to Chelsea's goal against Nottingham Forest. And just for a moment, let me highlight to you the particular players in this build-up. So you've got Chelsea's back 3 once the player inverts. The player inverting is Malo Gusto, and he is featured here. He's next to Moises Caicedo, who will be his centre midfield partner. Enzo Fernandez is currently playing the ball over into Cole Palmer, who has found himself in a lot of space. Going forwards, you have Noni Madueke, Nicholas Jackson, and just on the edge of your screen, just off picture, is Jadon Sancho. So you've got the 4-man box midfield, you've got your 3 attackers, and you've got your 3 defensive players. Chelsea are overloading the centre of the park to create a numerical advantage to give them a better opportunity of playing through the middle of this Nottingham Forest side. But a couple of things need to be mentioned. The first of all is the positioning of Elliot Anderson. He was originally playing as a left winger to try and compensate for the attacking play of Noni Madueke, but due to the influx of players in the centre of the park, he's been drifted infield to not only cope with the numerical advantage that Chelsea have, but also because his midfield player in Ryan Yates has come over to compensate for the defensive frailty of Olayena. In this particular scenario, Chelsea have utilised this to great effect because Cole Palmer has found himself in a lot of space, and so has Noni Madueke. And it only takes a couple of passes to really start to create these overloads. So you've got Cole Palmer receiving the ball right here. Once he receives that pass, you've then got Madueke, who is free with a lot of space. And again, remember what I said about creating those 1v1 opportunities. Those 1v1 duels are incredibly crucial in really isolating space and then taking it. Noni Madueke receives the pass, and then it's about him driving on towards Alex Moreno. Once he has the ability to stand up Moreno, he's then got an option. And that option is either going down the left or cutting inside. Because he doesn't have that doubling up of Elliot Anderson, Madueke can do whatever he likes. He decides in this particular instance to cut in field, and again, like I said, he doesn't have that player to help him, Moreno, and instead Madueke moves inside. It's a really dangerous opportunity, but again, look at this. You've got one run from Jadon Sancho. You've also got Nicholas Jackson in the box, and just on the edge of this area, you've got another Chelsea player following in on the edge. That is Enzo Fernandez. You've also got Caicedo moving towards, and you've got Cole Palmer on the edge of the box. Now, the thing that is really interesting are the amount of options that Madueke has to be able to play in. Instead, he goes for the shot, but it's just so open, it's so free-flowing, and there are so many dangerous opportunities for Nottingham Forest to try and deal with that it makes it nigh on impossible in this particular scenario. And it's a brilliantly worked goal from Chelsea. But what happens if a team wants to try and stop this? If the striker comes back and tries to make a fall with his midfield compatriots, what then happens? Well, Chelsea rely on good technical ability through the likes of Cole Palmer, through Enzo Fernandez, and through Sancho and Madueke to try and get them out of trouble. The ability to beat a player 1v1 is something that Enzo Maresca really utilises and really wants in his side, because once you are able to beat an opponent, you open up space. If, for example, a player was to come and confront Madueke, he is naturally leaving space out in between this area, and unless the opposition side is extremely well drilled, there is always going to be a moment of space that's able to be exploited. In this instance, Jackson could come across and then take that space. If, for example, a centre midfielder was able to fill this void, you've then got Palmer in a load of space. In short, in really committing the opposition players due to the superior 1v1 nature of Chelsea's technical players, it allows them to create and unfold space in the park, therefore giving themselves better opportunities on the ball. Teams will also try to combat this. They will try to alter their shape to try to combat the way that Chelsea and Enzo Maresca want to build up through the centre of the pitch. And in fact, Nottingham Forest did just that. Just take a look at this moment right here. So you've got Nottingham Forest two centre midfielders in Ward-Prowse and Yates. You've also got their wingers in Hudson-Odoi and in this moment, Jota. You've also got Morgan Gibbs-White and you've got Chris Wood. But look at how narrow all of them are. And this is to try and stifle Chelsea going through the centre of the pitch. It's almost a no-go zone. Look at this. They're all really encompassed in a small, tight space. And this is because you've got Caicedo, you've got Gusto, you've got Jackson, and you've got Palmer. But look at the position of Jackson. If we look at what he's doing, he's dropping into that midfield area to help fill that 4v4 void. And in fact, it's dragging out Nottingham Forest centre-back, who is leaving a lot of space in behind him. Cole Palmer realises this, and although the ball doesn't go to him, I just want to notice Palmer's real intelligence here. Look, he's got his head turned, his head's on a swivel, and he's noticing that space that's been left in behind the Nottingham Forest centre-back. It just so happens that it's actually a numerical advantage for Nottingham Forest in this scenario because you've got three up against Chelsea's 4. It makes it nearly impossible to try and get through. So what do? They try to play through into the centre and they move it around. They move it back round to Fofana, who then decides to go back to Sanchez. And this I find is really interesting because it's the fundamentals that Enzo Maresca has put into this Chelsea side, the patterns of play and the build-up of play that has allowed them to break teams down. So the ball goes over to Sanchez and Nottingham Forest thinks, yes, this is our moment. We've pushed them back. They can't play through our midfield, so we're going to try and pressurise them. You've got Hudson-Odoi, you've got Chris Wood, You've got Morgan Gibbs-White onto Caicedo, who's a real danger presence here, and then you're looking to try and get some kind of a turnover higher up the pitch. But what Chelsea do so well is utilise Malo Gusto in this area. Because he's not seen as a particular threat because of the inversion of a fullback, you've got an option for Levi Colwill, who receives the ball here, to make a pass into the centre of the pitch. And that's exactly what happens right here. He plays the ball round into Gusto, and then Chelsea are absolutely away. The moment that Gusto picks up the ball and turns, you've got Palmer who drops into this space. You've got the likes of Nicholas Jackson who's going to make a run. You can see Palmer here. And the moment that Gusto plays this pass, danger time for Nottingham Forest. Because then with this pass here, you've taken away 1, 2, 3, 4 players who were previously preventing Chelsea from playing through the centre of the pitch. You've taken that momentum away from Nottingham Forest and you've turned it into your own favour. This is how Enzo Maresca wants to break teams down, utilising that numerical system to try to break sides down and utilise the space that's been afforded to them. The ball gets played through into Madueke, and then what have you got? Remember, the crucial thing that I mentioned is 1v1 duels. This is what Enzo Maresca wants. He wants Madueke onto Nottingham Forest's left back in Alex Moreno without any kind of defensive cover and without any kind of double up, with a free 1v1 that Madueke has to try and beat his man. It's brilliantly done and brilliantly executed, and it's another fundamental plan to try and stop teams from stopping Chelsea, and in doing so, creating an opportunity for themselves. I think there's a question from a lot of people as to how Enzo Maresca and Chelsea have been able to establish such a style of play in such a short period of time, because it's incredibly clear, and that is down to a couple of things for me. Enzo Maresca is very good at communicating. He's a clear, concise communicator who knows what he wants to ask of his players, and the players have responded in kind. There's a good quote that I found from Enzo Maresca, and he says that if the players don't want to buy in, they don't play. You don't buy, you don't play. And that kind of philosophy is driven through this Chelsea side, not only from the players themselves, but also from the staff. Enzo Maresca has had to make a lot of tough calls as Chelsea boss early on in his tenure, going from a squad of 40 plus players to around 25. That's no mean feat, and a lot of harsh words and a lot of harsh decisions needed to be made, but it's made for the betterment of this Chelsea side, and now you're starting to see the benefits of it. The benefits of having a good two-man rotation for every position, a good system that is able to be built in with other players coming in as well. This is a setup and build-up that I believe Chelsea can utilise and really build off of. And he's carefully curated a selection of players from the mass amount of players that he had previously to create a squad that not only fulfills his philosophy, but really has the opportunity to take it to its next level. I believe Chelsea are really building towards something, and top 4 is not just it. I believe they're set and well on for that, but later down the line, I believe they could go even further. But of course, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.